Ever catch yourself kind of on autopilot, like reaching for your phone first thing in the morning or ordering the same thing for lunch every Tuesday? We're diving into better habits today. It's that 52-week program you sent over, and I got to say, I'm kind of ready to shake things up a bit.
Yeah, it's funny how these tiny little things, the stuff we do day after day, they really add up to, well, US right. This ebook, it gets it, starting with that why behind habits. Super smart.
Yeah, straight to the good stuff. It's like
Yeah.
not just about making your bed or drinking more water. It's bigger than that, right? How those little wins or those little losses really kind of shape who we become.
Exactly. Think about, have you ever totally aced a super stressful thing? Maybe you had a big presentation or a tough conversation with someone and you just nailed it. That's not just luck, right? That's composure. And that composure, it's built from all these tiny habits, things you've been doing all along.
Okay, you got me. I'm hooked. So how does better habits say we crack the code on, making those good changes last? Because let's be real, we've all been there, right? New Year's resolutions,
Mhm.
gone by February. So what's the secret sauce? What's the trick?
This guide, it breaks it down into this thing they call the stickiness factor. They've got these four key principles for making those good intentions stick.
All right, hit me. What's number one?
Okay, so first up, you got to make it obvious. But it's more than just a sticky note on your mirror, right? Think about replacing a habit. Maybe you scroll on your phone before bed. Swap it out for 10 minutes of journaling.
So it's like a visual cue, right?
Yeah.
Something that's already be part of your routine. I like
Okay.
it. What's next?
Okay, number two, got to make it attractive. It's way easier to stick with something you actually enjoy, right?
Yeah. Who wants to force themselves to eat like plain broccoli when there's, I don't know, cheesy fries calling your name?
Exactly. So get a little creative. Like the ebook, it uses this example, jazzing up that broccoli. Roast it with some garlic, lemon, maybe a little Parmesan cheese. Suddenly, way more appealing.
Okay, healthy hedonism, I'm in. So we've got obvious, attractive. What's number three on the habit stickiness list?
This is a big one, especially for those of us who go all out at the start, make it easy. Like the book, it warns about, trying to change everything at once. It's start small, celebrate those wins, and then you build momentum from there.
So instead of being like, I'm running a marathon tomorrow, it's more like, okay, a 10-minute walk around the block,
Yeah,
baby steps.
exactly. And last but not least, it's got to be satisfying. We humans, we like instant gratification, right? So if a habit feels like a chore, you're not going to stick with it. So find those ways to reward yourself. Maybe it's that smoothie after a workout, or even just that feeling of, check, got done.
I like where this is going. So we've got the why, we've got the how, but let's be honest, life is messy.
Yeah.
How do we go from these big ideas to actually you know, doing it? I mean, our schedules are already kind of crazy.
This is where the rubber meets the road, and where this ebook really shines. They dedicate a big chunk of it to planning for success with your habits, which people don't always think about that.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really interesting, right? Taking those big ideas, those principles, and making them like an actual plan you can follow.
Exactly. Let's dive into that better habits planning framework right after this.
Okay, we are back, and I am ready to really dig into the how-to here,
Yeah.
making these habits stick.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, sometimes just my to-do list is enough to give me anxiety. So how do we add habit building on top of everything else without completely losing it?
Totally get it. It's a common struggle, for sure. But the cool thing is this ebook, it gets that. They have this whole structured planning framework, but it's not another thing to stress about. It's more think of it as your roadmap, right? And it starts with getting really clear about your goals.
Okay, so not just be healthier, but more specific.
Exactly. Instead of I'm going to exercise more, it's I'm going to run a 5K without stopping, or I'm going to do 10 push-ups, no problem. You see that clarity. It helps you pick habits that actually get you closer to that big picture vision, not just random stuff.
Oh, I like that. It's like putting the destination in your GPS before you start driving, instead of just hoping you'll find it. So what's next? We got our fancy GPS destination. Now what?
So once you know where you're going, the ebook, it says do an honest habit audit. look at your routine now. What's already working? What's not so much? What's like holding you back from those awesome goals you just defined?
Oh, that's good. Because it's easy to just focus on the bad, right? Like all the things you want to change.
Right. But this audit thing, it helps you see the good stuff too. Like maybe you already walk your dog for 30 minutes every day. That's amazing for you and the pup. So how can you like build on that? Use that to get even closer to your goals.
So it's all about like awareness, right?
Yeah.
Seeing the whole picture.
Yes. Awareness. And that leads into the last planning step. It's a big one. Embracing the trade-off.
Nope. There you go.
Because building new habits, it usually means letting go of some old ones. And that takes effort. Conscious, got to be intentional about it.
Man, that is so true.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you want to like organize your closet, you can't just keep bringing in new clothes. You got to make space, get rid of some stuff.
I love that analogy. That's exactly it. And just like cleaning out your closet, sometimes it's hard to get rid of those old habits. Like maybe you love watching TV late at night, but it means you're always tired for that morning workout. This is where you have to decide. Is that instant gratification, is it worth it in the long run?
Man, those trade-offs, those are tough.
Hey.
So it seems like this ebook, it really goes deep on all this stuff, the why, the how-to, the nitty-gritty. So once we've done all that planning, right, got our goals, we've audited our habits, we're ready for those trade-offs, what then? How do we actually use those sticky principles we talked about to make it happen?
This is where it gets so cool because better habits, it gets super specific here. They tailor the advice to different parts of your life, like your physical health, mental well-being, being more productive at work, your relationships. It's all in there.
Okay, now I'm really interested. We can't cover all 52 weeks of habit wisdom in one deep dive, but can we give a sneak peek? Like, what are some of the things that stood out?
Yeah, totally. Let's see. Physical health. One of the best tips is they're big on logging your food and exercise, but not in like a crazy calorie counting way. It's more about like seeing the patterns in your behavior.
So it's not about guilt, it's about information. Like, oh, wow, look at that. Every time I'm stressed, I reach for the candy jar.
Yes, exactly. It's about noticing those things. Oh, and they also talk about mental health. And one thing that really jumped out at me was like having social routines. It's not just about like putting down your phone, although that's good too, but like making time to actually see people face to face, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Right, because as easy as technology is, nothing really replaces that. Seeing someone, hearing their voice, getting that energy.
Exactly. Oh, and for all our listeners who are all about that productivity life, there's a whole section on this thing called the eat the frog technique.
Okay, now I have to know. Eat the frog. What is that?
So it's this thing, it's supposed to help you stop procrastinating. Like the idea is every day you pick the biggest, most daunting task, whatever's making you cringe the most, that's your frog, and you do it first thing.
Get it over with. So then everything else feels easy, right?
Exactly. That's the idea. Now, before we go too far down the rabbit hole of techniques and stuff, there's this really important point the ebook makes, and it's this. Building better habits, it's not a destination, it's like a journey.
Ooh, I like that. It's about the journey, not the destination.
Right. It's about progress, not perfection. So don't beat yourself up if you miss a day or whatever.
That is such a good reminder.
Yeah.
Especially in this world where everything's like, go, go, go. We're all about sustainable change here, right? Not quick fixes. So how does better habits, how do they approach that long-term game of the sticking with it part?
That is what we're going to talk about right after this.
All right. We're back and ready to, tackle that long game we were talking about. Changing your habits for good. It's one thing to like start strong, all excited and everything, but then how do you actually make it last? Like make those changes part of your life?
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's easy to get caught up in the like new year, new me energy, but I think we all know how that usually goes. Motivation fades, life happens. How do you actually keep going when things get tough?
Yeah, exactly. So what's the secret sauce? According to Better Habits, how do we actually make it stick for good?
They're big on consistency, but like not in a crazy, rigid way. It's more about building a system that supports you, even on those days when you're like, nope, not happening.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But that's easier said than done, right? Life is gonna life, things get busy, your priorities change, and suddenly that new gym routine you were so excited about,
Yeah.
distant memory. So what's the ebook say? How do you actually stay on track with all that chaos?
One thing they talk about is starting small, like focusing on building momentum little by little, It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So don't try to change everything all at once.
Right, because that's usually a recipe for disaster. You go
Mm.
from 0 to 100, and then you crash and burn.
Exactly. So it's more like pick one thing, one key area you want to work on, and make small, consistent changes.
Kind of like how we were talking about those trade-offs, right?
Hmm.
It's about choosing quality over quantity.
Yes, exactly. That gradual approach, it's like it lets you experience those little wins. And those wins, they give you motivation to keep going. And that's how you make it stick for the long haul. And speaking of staying motivated, the ebook, it talks about having an accountability partner.
Oh yeah, like a habit buddy.
Exactly. Someone to cheer you on and maybe give you a little nudge if you need it.
I need like a whole squad of nudgers, honestly. But yeah, I get it. It's like having your own personal cheerleader, but for like your personal growth.
Mm.
Okay, what else? What else helps with the whole consistency thing?
They're big on tracking your progress, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy like spreadsheets or whatever.
Yeah.
Even just a little notebook where you can like check off your wins for the day.
Ooh, yeah. There's something about those check marks. So satisfying.
Right. It's a visual reminder of how far you've come, even on those days when it doesn't feel like it.
I love that. Visual reminders are everything.
Mm.
Okay, anything else before we wrap up our deep dive?
Oh, this is a big one. Be patient. Like really, really patient.
Ugh, that is so hard, though, in this world where everything is instant.
I know, right? But it's true. When it comes to building habits, changing your behavior, it's a journey, remember. It takes time and effort and a lot of self-love. Don't forget the self-love.
Truth. This ebook, it's not just a how-to guide. It's like a reminder that we're all a work in progress. You know, we're always learning, always growing. And that's okay.
So well said. And on that note, any final thoughts for our listeners as they embark on their own habit-building adventures?
You know, just remember, you already took the first step. By tuning in, learning about this stuff, you're already on your way. And now you've got all these tools. So go out there and, like, crush it, one small step at a time. And hey, we're always here for you, cheering you on. Until next time, happy habit building.